Hey, good day, everyone. Hope everything is going blessed and you're having a wonderful weekend. Today is October 16th, a very special day indeed. And I would like to bring you some highlights over the course of the past week, what's been happening in the market. So I'm not a financial advisor. I will disclose that right away. But I do follow this cryptocurrency and Bitcoin technology very closely. So with that, I want to make this update very short to let you know that progress is being made pertaining to the XRP case, right, against the SEC, or I should say the reverse, the SEC's case against the XRP Ripple company. So far, all the evidence is sort of almost irrefutable. And what that means is it's really trying to make an example out of one major cryptocurrency player, such as XRP. So I want to highlight that the important factor to consider here is that XRP has been in the trenches alongside Bitcoin and all Ethereum, I believe. They've been in the trenches since a while back, right? So 2014, maybe even before that. So these guys have been, they've garnered a lot of sums of money, especially through the ICO, which occurred back in 2017, I believe, or whenever that ICO took place. It's the same steps that Ethereum got its ICO approved, and now look at Ethereum right now; it's just flying, right? So a lot of people say that that's unfair, whereas you try to make an example out of the XRP. It took me a while to actually come around to XRP. I guess I was also learning in the market. I was looking at different things, and at that time Bitcoin was really the biggest crypto out there, right? So at $5,000, $3,000, sure, why not look at that one? That's really what has everybody going. And anyone entering the market, that is still, even at $60,000, that's the first thing you would want to buy, whether it's $100 worth of it, or you want to buy 5 Bitcoin itself, it doesn't matter. That's the number one thing you're going to look at. Knowing that when net fluctuates, alts fluctuates, right? But yeah, as I began to grow in this space, I began to understand what's been happening underground. There's a lot of countries that are actually seem to be afraid of crypto, and it gives you, right? It gives you, the people, the power to transact with one another with ease. So, for example, the Bank of America, back in the summer of 2021, they hired a team. They developed a team, and they call it like this crypto research team. So they went out and got someone to lead that team. So that's in progress. However, I just learned something that really took me by surprise. And the Bank of America is making account updates. And as part of that updates, wire transfers, section B, 5B of your service agreement will be revised so that the following limits, fees, and cutoff times will apply to ACH and wire transfers. I'm just reading off my screen on the left of myself. So international wire transfers limited to $5,000. When you go into the bank and you have to perform a transfer, right? Or you withdraw money from your own account, you may be very well asked or questioned, especially if it's in the thousands, why and what's the reason? Why do you want to take out your own money? Please inform me. Show me your ID, show me this, give me your fingerprint, give me a reason, right? With cryptocurrency, you don't have that issue. Now, some may argue that if your cryptocurrencies is stored on an exchange, sure, the exchange can prevent you from transferring. And that has happened to myself as well, until I fought back and I said, no, you can't do this, right? This is my asset. I've proven to you who I am. I've got nothing to hide. So here you go. Here's my ID. You have my ID. What are you waiting for? Right? So it's a lot of exchanges as they become big, huge exchanges. They're not going to really want you to move a lot of money across and out of their exchange into another competitor's exchange, so you can start, transacting and doing, issuance on their other exchange, right? Because they're going to lose out business. So, anyways, there's ways around that, such as using DEXs, DEX, so that's like decentralized exchanges, such as Uniswap, 1inch, and there's a ton of other DEX out there. And what that does is you hold your own crypto in your wallet, which is attached to either your browser or your phone or a USB, etc. I'm not talking about security right now. I'm just only referring to if you didn't want to have your crypto stored into an exchange, right? Where the exchange can prevent you from transacting. So, or sending. So anyways, as banks move forward and try to decipher what to do with this space, how can it be profitable for them? And I'm not a financial advisor, just want to let you know, but I study the space quite a lot, especially working in cybersecurity and technology. I want to keep a very close eye on this, pretty much a new breakthrough in technology, not for me, but for the globe and the masses at scale. I'm seeing this develop into something that the world will pivot towards, right? So this is very key in my understanding, in our understanding, as we grow through these phases, very critical. So the next phase of the internet, Web 3.0, is upon us. And these are the technologies that will drive tomorrow's breakthroughs, right? So the internet was and always will be an innovation. It will always be a progression. It will always be an evolution of technology, of ideas, of conceptions, of accumulation of all of the above, right? So in terms of banks putting together their digital teams to try to figure out how do we capitalize, how do we get into DeFi, what is NFT, right? These are the discussions that are happening behind the scenes. And you, as the audience, you as the people, can utilize the internet in today's world to maybe do your own research and understand what's really happening. So the phases of the internet, like I mentioned, I spoke of, it's upon us. All these new projects and stuff, these are going to be part of the next wave of the internet, Web 3.0. So that brings us upon, let's talk about fiat, right? Because the core of this whole entire cryptocurrency, the core of it is really speaking to the fiat monetary system. If you look at a lot of different countries around the world where fiat has failed them, the dollar has really been devalued and dropped off, right? So this is significant because it's happening from one country to the next, And here we go, rinse and repeat. Oh no, it's not going to happen to us until one day it does. Until one day you wake up in the future, 5-10 years, and your kids are older, and you look back and you say, wow, I didn't see this coming because I was young, I was partying, I've been there, so I understand. But I'm extremely focused in this area because it's turning into a passion, because I see this being a way for people to educate themselves on what they're using. They're using the internet every day for Facebook, for Instagram, for this and that, and YouTube. However, it's incumbent upon us to understand the revolution that's happening in front of us. So Bitcoin started that revolution in terms of, let's use Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer electronic version of cash. Okay, so that's how Bitcoin came about. Let's transact using Bitcoin. Now, there's many different tribes within this whole crypto ecosystem. The first one was Bitcoin, of course, and obviously, and all due respect to that and their teams. However, you will recall 10,000 Bitcoin was spent on 2 pizzas. And this was an interview with that person who spent 10,000 Bitcoins on 2 pizzas back in maybe 2010 or something like that. So back then, the value of that, no one saw value. Why? They had the internet, they had YouTube, they had Facebook. No one saw the value of this thing called Bitcoin. None, no one. Why? So if we sit and ask ourselves, almost like literally what, 11 years later, after that transpired, how did it go from being valueless and nothing, although it still had, and it was developed by mathematical code as well as cryptography, etc., a culmination of technology for the last 2-3 decades, essentially, right? That's how big, that's what Bitcoin represented. So given that knowledge, what happens is the next step, the next phase of evolution. As this Bitcoin was created for the world to solve these global crisis issues in terms of the 2008 crisis that I spoke of previously on previous videos, to solve that problem and to decentralize the power structure, right, in the fiat monetary system, you had to look at a different one, which is Bitcoin, a decentralized operation based on mathematics and cryptography, etc. And that was intended to be developed to use as cash. However, after maybe about 5-6 years of Bitcoin being around, other blockchains was formed similar to that timeline, during which they attended shows, conference shows, and you would see a little sign in the back called, hey, this is Ripple. You know, these small players. Bitcoin, Ripple, like, nobody cared about it at that time. Sure, it was breakthrough technology, it was blockchain. Unless you're probably a developer, you would only understand that. But that did nothing for you and I at that time. I didn't even understand it myself, but now I get it. Technology is evolving. So is the internet on the large scale, on the global scale, right? No one predicted that all of a sudden we're going to be in a pandemic and having to print trillions and trillions. Wake up, please. Wake up every day and think how staggering it is for countries at scale to print trillions of money, you know, multiple trillions. Think how much just the USA has printed. Think about how much Canada has printed. Think about how much your own country has printed. Germany, England, right? Central banks are eventually going to have to adopt something, and that something is called Bitcoin, right? We are seeing countries adopt it. One country. All of a sudden, Brazil's coming out and saying, hey, we're looking at adopting this. Who's going to help the third world countries? Who's going to help the developing nations of the world? No one. When you see something like Bitcoin running, guess what? Hey, let's jump on that bandwagon. That's going to be hot like fire. So to make a long story short, again, I'll tie this down with the evolution of Bitcoin. What its purpose was meant to be, a peer-to-peer transaction system, right? Using electronic money, essentially. That was always the goal. From 20 years ago, there was these scientists that really had that vision. And here it is playing out today, folks. Part of that vision was Bitcoin Cash as well. As the evolution progressed, they realized that there's certain limitations with Bitcoin itself, BTC. What happened is, in that camp, in the BTC camp, some developers felt, hey, you know what? They recognize there are limitations. However, we need to pursue an upgrade to make this more efficient for global mass adoption. So think about it, global mass adoption. Bitcoin was formed on the same thesis, on the same basis of that idea, thinking, right? Same thing with Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash was literally the upgrade to Bitcoin. So, right? So BCH is the upgrade to BTC. However, BTC has been in existence a lot longer than BCH, of course. So guess what? Back in 2008, back in 2010, back in 2012, guess what? Nobody cared about Bitcoin, so they lost it, right? They had it in the USB, they lost it. Had it in the exchange, it got hacked or it lost. Somehow. What does that tells a story and the narrative that it makes Bitcoin even stronger from a store of value perspective. So that's great. Bitcoin Cash was formed in 2017. And I have to reiterate that. Why? Because of what I'm seeing here with the Bank of America holding back wire transfers and minimizing, maximizing that to only 5,000, limiting it to $5,000. That is huge, right? You're not able to move your money. When Bitcoin came out, all you needed was this long address, and you can send money. You can, to your friends, to your family, to pay your bills, whatever. That's all you needed. It's almost like an email address, except it's longer. So when Bitcoin came out, you can see that no limits. But apparently, the way things are going, if everybody went and pulled out $1,000 from their bank account in one day, that would be chaotic. That would literally be chaotic. If everyone said, "Hey, I need to get my $10,000 of credit," or go to the bank and get $10,000 in cash, where's the bank going to get all this? Right? We've seen this happen in other parts of the world, in Asia, right? If you look back a bit when they had some riots, I think in Hong Kong and somewhere in there, literally you went to the bank machine, they don't have money. You go to the teller, they don't have money. I'm sorry, we can't give you your money. It's happening. It's like a virus that's spreading, a monetary one. So BCH is a great value. It's undervalued. It was a fork of Bitcoin, like I mentioned lots of times. It was a fork of Bitcoin. It also has 21 million. It's being adopted by countries and utilized even by El Salvador. So although Bitcoin is the legal tender in El Salvador, Bitcoin Cash is also being used to transact. And guess what? Bitcoin recently had to upgrade to the Lightning Network to make it speedy, right? Fast transaction. They had to add a layer 2 on top of that. And also they're going to do a Taproot upgrade, which is in November of 2021. That Taproot upgrade brings about some changes to their ability to perform smart contracts. It might also aid in DeFi and so on and so forth. That's wonderful. Bitcoin Cash had those very same features or similar back in 2017, and it's also evolving. The developers that worked on Bitcoin in that Bitcoin network moved over to Bitcoin Cash, right? Because they had a difference of opinion at that time, and they were free to move around and say, I'm going to create my own one. So these we'll see Bitcoin Cash evolve as well. But that's one thing, right? The Bank of America holding back funds and not allowing you to move your funds freely. So it's inevitable that at some point there might be a breaking point. I don't know. We're only in 2021 at this point in time, October for that matter. I don't know where we're going to be in 1 year, right? As many people have been made aware recently, crypto is taking the world, the globe by storm. So it's just a matter of time till everyone says to themselves, Why am I having my $5,000 in the bank, my 2K in the bank, my 10 G's in the bank? Great. My dad gave me a gift. Here you go, son. What does that mean? You're gonna put it in the bank and sit there with it? Or your mom gave you a birthday present, something like that? Like, what are you gonna do with that, right? So you have to think about what's the value of that. Now, there's a whole different discussion on inflation and what's happening, not just in the USA, however, around the globe. So I believe Bitcoin Cash is heavily manipulated at this point. There's always going to be a difference of opinion. There's people who are very loyal to BTC, which are called BTC maxis, right? Only care about BTC, only care about BTC. And that's great, right? We all have to respect BTC for what it's done and the time it's been around, right? Probably almost 14 years. So yeah, definitely respect BTC. But as it becomes literally outpriced for us all, you look at the next thing, right? BTC will always capture the hearts and the attention of many across the globe. Once that occurs, which is already begun, guess what? It's going to bring everything upwards with it, including stuff like the BCH, which is really what Bitcoin is trying to become today in terms of the Lightning Network, the Taproot upgrade, and the signatures that it used. Bitcoin Cash actually uses all of those. Like, it uses the same signatures. It uses the lower transaction fees, and it's fast as well. Now with the Lightning Network, I'm not sure which one's faster. But anyways, it took Bitcoin a while to get there because the consensus, all the miners had to agree to it. Speaking of miners, once Bitcoin Cash, I'm just talking in, let's say, for example, 2 years from now, which is a very extremely long time. But at that point, that's 2 years into a fully digital, awareness for everyone in terms of monetary exchange transactability. Everyone's going to know what Bitcoin is. People are going to be born into Bitcoin. You're going to be giving gifts of Bitcoin. You're going to look for something else. You're going to look, hey, okay, Bitcoin Cash. Even if it was 1-to-1 at one point in time, now it's like 1-to-100, literally. So when that ratio starts to equalize, I don't know if it'll be ever 1-to-1. I doubt it. But even if it hits half of that, that's huge, right? That means that countries may start adopting Bitcoin Cash as also part of their legal tender, right? So I don't know much about this, but I'm guessing, okay, legal tender is like the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, whether it's 10 cents or a dollar or $10 or $100, it's a legal tender, right? But just like how you have 10 cents or $100, $10, why not have Bitcoin Cash, maybe Ether, right? Just a thought in the evolution of thinking, of thought process. What could happen in maybe 10 years, right? 5-10 years seems so long for me when I look at these charts, grids. It's like, oh my gosh, I got gray hair already. But guess what? 10 years, a lot can change. The world can change. Bitcoin is going to be even more scarce, as well as Bitcoin Cash, right? For those, look at it this way. For those going to university, 4 years, you're only 4 years away from graduating. So guess what? That's 4 years. That's almost half of the 10. Right? There's huge changes coming to this space, right? I've watched this space grow from 66 billion upwards to 2.6 trillion as of yesterday. So it's crazy, right? The last time we got to 2.5 trillion was back in the spring of 2021, and all of a sudden after that, we lost a trillion. Yes, it's very liquid. It's very liquid. So we have to understand that when the market is good and it blesses you with some green candles, you can look at what is the next altcoin to choose that hasn't had its run yet. Move the money over, not financial advice, however. So some say when BTC reaches 100,000, which is very close, it could mean that Bitcoin Cash is 5,000, or if BTC goes to 148,000, one BCH could be 7,500. All speculation, of course, but it is being utilized in countries to by institutions or by retailers to pay for stuff. So that's good. There's going to be that Taproot upgrade that I did mention. It's Taproot time. Yeah, so the other big thing here is NFTs and Decentraland. Yeah, a digital land. So picture a world where it's virtual, like you're playing a video game. So you jump into this video game and you're like, I like that property. I want to buy it. Okay, great. Give me $1,000 in USD. Right? It's crazy. But this game called Decentraland, I believe, does that. So it's becoming, becoming very significant. Digital artwork, NFTs, and in-game accessories, right? For the pandemic, gaming has really taken off, and a lot of technological developments pertaining to that is on its way. Part of that is also NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is one of the companies that I wish I got in so long ago, but I'll tell you why. NVIDIA, their technology is used for AI, it's used for Bitcoin mining, it's used for gaming, and also it's going to be used for this type of digital world, these like Decentraland in there, right? Which is, you could consider that as part of the gaming category. However, it's a more serious platform, right? For example, in December 2020, Upland's digital version of the New York Stock Exchange sold for the equivalent of $23,000. You'd be like, what? Upland is a property trading blockchain game. It's just a game, folks. Property trading blockchain game. This is phenomenal. So you can buy digital versions of real places in locations like New York City, San Francisco, etc., right? And it can be converted to and from actual dollars. I don't know where all of this is going, but I'm just letting you know how deep this NFT space really is. And as this becomes the norm, so will transacting in Bitcoin or digital dollars like Bitcoin Cash, right? So Decentraland is completely owned and operated by its users. Decentraland, right? So that's another crypto play. If you want to look into the NFT, not financial advice, but the coin is called Mana, MANA. It's a blockchain-based world that has its own native token called Mana. So your Decentraland avatar is an NFT with its own unique name. It costs about 100 Mana plus an additional Ethereum gas fee to create one, right? So that's your own avatar. Each user can only have one, and these avatars can also be customized and bought and sold and traded. So guess what? Many of you who have kids may notice them playing Roblox and stuff like that. Decentraland is sort of decentralized, owned by the users, not by one central authority. So the theme here in blockchain is decentralization. right? Breaking down the power structure, right? From this to, spread that power, give it back to you, the people. All right, so Decentraland has another token that represents individual plots of land called land. Go figure. You exchange mana for land and vice versa. Okay. Originally launched as its beta platform back in 2017, Decentraland's virtual plots are permanently limited in supply. Permanently limited in supply. Decentraland's virtual plots. So they're assigning a scarcity aspect to that game, right? So back then they were trading hands for 20 bucks. These days, the relatively desirable plot might go for what, $100,000 or more. I'm just reading this for the first time, folks. So excuse my expression. I'm like, what? For example, digital real estate firm Republic Realm recently purchased a plot with 239 parcels for a record $913,228.20 worth of mana. Wow. So that coin, and someone actually, shout out to Andy and Burberry out there, the barber. Yeah, you guys were telling me about this a couple weeks ago. So yeah, there's so many things in this whole thing. There's NFTs, there's transaction in your daily stuff using cash. That's what I'm focused on right now, because I see a $100 trillion fiat global monetary system about to go bust. I really do feel that, and I see it. And the first thing you're going to look at is something like Bitcoin Cash, right? It gives you value of something. These games are showing you the scarcity, and also that scarcity equals value, right? Real estate in a digital form. So guess what? I'm just thinking on the fly here. I know a lot of real estate agents, mad respect to you guys, because I can't do what you guys do. So, but how about selling, hey, you want to, because I wouldn't know, unless I'm reading an article, unless I'm following up day to day, I'm just a regular human being. I would have no idea how to access this, how you go and buy this. And I actually would need a digital real estate agent to assist me and say, look, I want to go purchase something in there. Show me what you got. I need to see 10 photos. That's it. Okay, good. Awesome. I'll give you 10 grand, whatever. But judging by the $913,000 there, I don't think that 10 grand will work. That might be a deposit. But anyways, you get the point, right? We're evolving, folks. We are evolving at light speed. And this is why I'm standing here in front of you, in front of this camera at, wow, 2:50 a.m. With dark circles under my eyes, because yeah, we have to do our day jobs, and we got to do our responsibilities, and then we still have to spend time following up on this market. Why? Because I don't want this to hit me out of left field. I'm not like that type of person. We always have to anticipate what's coming next, who's coming next, right? So this market is coming next. Bitcoin is going to lead it. Yeah. So NVIDIA, mana. I think that's about all the stuff for exciting news. Axie Infinity, that's another coin that went skyrocketing. So DeFi has been a hot topic in crypto, in blockchain, and NFTs are starting to capture some of that liquid assets, right? Such as NFTs, Axie Infinity, their revenue is skyrocketing. So these are things to look out for, and I want us to look at this space together, right? Engine, I learned about Engine a few years ago. That's still pretty much a big big name out there in terms of NFTs. They were one of the first platforms for gaming and NFTs. And it's they could be increasing up to 343%. I don't know when. This is talking, but if it follows anything similar to the Axie token, definitely. And right now it's probably about $2. And Axie is, I don't even know what. So this article is talking about Minecraft and World of Warcraft, sorry. As of this writing, nearly 1 million digital items have been traded in Engine's marketplace, generating over 45 million Eng worth of transactions. That's just the beginning, folks. There's dozens of games currently using Engine and more set to launch in the months ahead. So as I mentioned, these guys have been in the space a long time. And you know how it goes. Maybe if they're bigger than the next person, and then they say, hey, you know what, we're going to buy out Axie, I don't know, or merge. We see it happen all the time with technology companies, right? Behind the scenes. So I wouldn't be surprised about that. So those are ways to get into the metaverse. If you ever hear metaverse, this is alternate universe that exists, which is digital. And it's a whole new thing, right? Like it's a whole new concept, it's a foreign concept. Like I see real estate here. Look at me, we're in lights, camera, action mode, right? So, we got some background there, but what if I can change this into some, in front of the New York Stock Exchange building, I own this property, blah, 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 it's digital. I don't know where things are going to go, right? It's crazy. But yeah, wanted to bring your attention to those updates. And with regards to Bitcoin, in regards to the market, where are we going? The only constant is adoption. So just understand this, and I myself have to understand this and be patient. One day, like today, I woke up and the new cipher just 600%. I was aware of new cipher, and I remember that at 20 cents, and all of a sudden it just went up probably like $2 or something like that, or literally almost overnight, I feel. Anyways, a lot of noise generated from that. So these tokens, they do that, they go up, and then guess what? They have the market sellers waiting at a certain spot. As soon as it hits this target, it dumps the coin and they turn that into BTC, right? So that's what we normally do. We take profits, put it back into BTC, take profits, put it back into BTC. So now you're accumulating and you're building your future wealth because you're increasing your BTC ratio, right, on your portfolio. So that's one strategy. There's many strategies. But it's important to note that Bitcoin is being adopted quite rapidly. And over the next 5, 10, 20 years, we have to be patient. If you look at how much money you put into your retirement bucket, this is something great to add. There's always things that's going to pop up in the world that will serve as value, etc. Might be something else new, like maybe it might be more digital stuff, I don't know. But this is an opportunity, it's a whole new breakthrough. You would probably have to wait till, Web 5.0 or Web 4.0 to make some moves like this, but really hard to say at this point. So these are like literally looking at, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Apples, like, back then. Speaking of real estate, one thing I wanted to mention, if you wanted to go out tomorrow and buy a townhome or a condo, what are some of the requirements that needs to be met? Well, you've got to have at least 20% down payment, come up with your ID, lawyer fees, etc. As well, you would have to have a loan from the bank. So if you want to buy a condo for 200,000, for example, you're buying that with the intention that whether you live in it or not, you're buying that knowing with the knowledge that it's probably in 10 years, it's going to double to 400,000, right? So what happens then? You want to make that $400,000, but you got to get the approval for $400,000 at the beginning and then pay that mortgage all the way through while the price appreciates. So while it's appreciating in its value, you are putting more money into it. With Bitcoin, you don't need a bank approval. You can start buying Bitcoin tomorrow and keep putting money into it. Not financial advice, but I'm saying as a model, as a theory, you can keep putting money into it, which is called dollar cost averaging. When you do that and you look back on your portfolio, you say, wow, I put $5,000 in Bitcoin over the year, and that actually equated to, if Bitcoin did a 200%, that's $5,000 times 200%, right? You know that a deflationary asset, right? Not a depreciating asset. It's a deflationary asset. That means that it's becoming more scarce as time moves forward. Same thing with Bitcoin Cash, right? Bitcoin Cash is $500 versus $50,000 or $60,000 US. Just saying, I'm gonna buy me some Bitcoin Cash and just sit there and hold it, right? As well as other things, right? Sprinkle the wealth on this thing because you can do it. You can do it. You can buy something for $1, right? And let time do the heavy lifting, right? So this is, as I said, it's 3 o'clock. I don't even know how long I've been speaking here, but it's fascinating. I could literally just feel like I can do this all day and all night. Let's see if I can see it. Yeah, so one thing, there's so many things, forgive me. Bitcoin mining. America is now the leader in Bitcoin mining. Look at that. In a matter of less than 6 months. Do you know what happened? 70% of the mining was performed in China. When China banned Bitcoin, for whatever reason, when they banned the mining of Bitcoin in their country, that literally told these miners to move out. They have to find new homes, right? Texas is one of the biggest mining states in the US today, right? So the funny thing is Texas is encouraging the Bitcoin adoption. Miami is also doing the same. So you've got 2 cities literally, and Wyoming, you got 3 cities literally vying for some Bitcoin attention, right? This can literally bring some good wealth in the future for these states, right? So the Miami coin, it's listed on the Miami mayor's website or something like that. The Miami coin is a fork of something, a fork of Bitcoin, is according to what they said, because it has the same foundations and principles of the Bitcoin. I think it was code. So that's what the mayor was trying to say. It's using the same code as Bitcoin, right? So we know it's a trustable code, right? So guess what? Then that is literally like maybe a fork modified, version of Bitcoin, and then they make it Miami coin. So great, they're using it, awesome. And guess what? They've already profited in their books since introducing this. So the mayor of Miami wants to pay their employees using Bitcoin. That's amazing. That's astonishing. And you have on the federal level, Biden is putting the rules and frameworks and getting 30 countries involved to create oversight and audit on this crypto environment. So as more and more of that happens, they're going to want to scrutinize transaction. Is authority, is just government, right? This is what happens. So this is why decentralized exchanges exist. And now you have the option. You want to store it on the hot wallet on one of these centralized exchanges. And when you're ready to move your Bitcoin or not, maybe you may not be, I don't know. Or you can use a USB stick, store your Bitcoin there. I mean, if you lose it, you lose it, right? But you can still transact and do your business. So there's going to be at least people have options, right? So that's the great thing. But yeah, these two cities are vying for to be known as the Bitcoin Central, pretty much. JP Morgan, yeah, they've also came out and said some bad news about Bitcoin, but they always do that since 2017. So, JP Morgan, China banning Bitcoin, this and that, Bitcoin's bad, I remember last year, June, sitting there looking at the charts and Bitcoin was 9,000 US. And I was like, damn, this thing is worth so much more. Why doesn't it go up? Yeah, patience is virtue, right? It'll take time. So let time do the heavy lifting. Go out there and enjoy life, dollar cost average, and you'll be in for a great surprise, I'm sure. Anyways, don't worry about the alts. Alt season is ahead of us, and sometimes Bitcoins will capture all the attention, and then what happens? That's not forever. As more money flows into Bitcoin, think about it. Everyone is looking at Bitcoin right now like, wow. And if I had a crystal ball, I would be giving you guys even better information because I probably would have had a team working for me at that time. But guess what? I didn't have a crystal ball. So I, looked at the market, had Bitcoin, and then I sold it for altcoins. And then, things, if you're not careful, your equivalent in Bitcoin could actually decrease while adoption and attention to Bitcoin increases. Now, who knows what will happen? Maybe the next go around, maybe the alts that I have outshines Bitcoin, and then the value of the alts will be better than Bitcoin. I'll be like, oh wow, well now I have a higher amount of value of Bitcoin. But as I've learned, that thing can change. It can change frequently, and it would. So the best store of value for myself in terms of what I see is Bitcoin, because it's out of the 21 million, about 5 million has been lost because it's almost 13 years old. No one knew much about it back then, so they just left it on hard drives and stuff like that. So for a store of value, yeah, great. So if the alt market comes, alt season, it's really, all the alts are doing explosive moves, and you happen to be in one of the alts, my suggestion probably would be to move it over to BTC, because the ratio, at the end of the day, everything has a season, right? So alt will have a season, Bitcoin will have a season. As more people come into the market, the first thing they buy is Bitcoin, and they start looking around and like, oh wow, why am I spending 60 grand or 100 grand for Bitcoin when I could buy an Ethereum or a few Ethereum? Okay, great, awesome. I don't think the SEC is coming after Ethereum anytime soon. They just kind of give them a green pass, and this is why the XRP army is upset, because they're like, wait a minute, we were in the trenches together, and all of a sudden you got a green pass and I didn't. Something's wrong there, right? So let everything unfold naturally with our understanding of the fiat money printing, the $1 trillion fiat global supply, and that is what Bitcoin Cash is targeting. If Bitcoin Cash eats into 1% of that, great. And if Bitcoin, I'm just saying, if Bitcoin eats into 99% of that, and Bitcoin Cash has 1% capture of that, that makes Bitcoin Cash a $1 trillion coin. That means its value from where it's at today at 11 billion is going to skyrocket in 5 years. Just saying, or 10 years, right? Dollar cost average, understand and educate ourselves, help our community, help spread the knowledge, right? Because we make our community safer by doing so, right? If we make ourselves and each other wealthy, guess what? There will be less crime. crime is on the rise. Ever since the pandemic, people have changed, mentalities have changed, right? So be careful out there, and may God bless you all. Thank you so much. Peace.